Hi everybody, a little update on the CB450 K5 1972 project I'm working on at the moment. Well, my front tyre has arrived. I'm very pleased with that. This one here is well past it, so I'll be swapping that out. New tube and rim tape for that as well. So drained all the oil out and started into this side of the engine. Yeah, clutch basket apart. All of that's come apart. When you take this part here off, don't try to force it. You must first of all remove these two 6mm bolts which hold the oil pump body in place. Pull that out at the same time as you pull out this part here. Okay, and by the way, there's just a circlip that holds this on. Now when you come to take the spinner off, you need this tool here to take this nut off. You're not going to get it off without that. And you just need to put I just put a bit of copper washer between the two gears just to hold it in place. One on this gear here and one into here just to lock it in place. I've seen videos where people really struggle to get this nut out. Thankfully for mine it just came out really easy using my breaker bar. Break away quite soundly. Also there's a filter down here, little mesh filter that slides out. Thankfully mine was nice and clean, no metal parts or anything in it, so very pleased to see. As far as I can tell, this engine hasn't been out of the frame. If it has been, it's been many years ago. So no nasty surprises at this stage, but I just wanted to come into this region here. I'm going to be putting new clutch plates and fibres and springs in here anyway while I'm at it, and just give everything a good checking over. This is the gear selector part here, that all looks to be okay. Kickstart, spring, everything's okay there. So you've got to take this footrest off. Now when you take the footrest off, you've got a 14mm on this side, sorry, 17mm nut on this side, and on the back through this hole here there's a nut on the other side. You won't get the peg off until you take that nut off. It's around the back of here, around the back of the frame. It's a 14mm nut, and I dropped the foot peg down, so the brake pedal down, just easier just to remove it at this end here off the brake lever. So it gave me plenty of clearance to get the side cover off here. Okay, and as I said, drained the oil completely out of the engine, so that's all done. New spark plugs arrived, got those in, and I had a lot of trouble with these forks here, by the way, guys. So these forks here have got they've got the spring, of course, inside of the cartridge. So the spring is there. This has got progressive spring, so it's sort of wider at the bottom of the fork, and it narrows off and gets tighter up to the top of the tube here of the stanchions. Anyway, there's a rod in here, and the rod is attached to the bottom of the fork here with the little Allen bolt that goes up through the bottom once you got the wheel off. So that was all okay. Then the spring slides down over the rod. It's just the damper rod. I see some bikes don't have it, but this one does. And then the spring slides down over the damper rod, and there's a little 19mm nut that goes on top of that, and then the top nut here screws onto the end of the thread as well, and then you just slide it all together after you put the oil on, of course. So not too bad to do that. The only problem is that somebody had been in here before me and they disassembled the shock and taken the oil out and disassembled the shock, and they had disconnected the 19mm nut off the top of the rod, and so when I lifted the bike up, the front wheel just fell straight off. There's nothing to hold this bottom part together, it just slid off the stanchions. So I thought, what's going on there? I haven't had that happen before. I was wondering what was going on. Anyway, I took the whole thing apart and I couldn't get the, when I put the spring onto the damper rod, the spring was too short and I wasn't able to get the 19mm nut on the end of the thread. And the reason why that was the case was when I was transporting the bike, I had the shock sort of pushed down tight, with my tie downs, and that had actually sort of like pushed the damper rod into the damper mechanism at the bottom of the shock, and it was sort of stuck there a little bit, and the same on both sides, of course. So once I'd realised that the rod was shorter than what it needed to be, I just gave my slide hammer a little pull on the end of the rod with the nut on, and it just popped out about another 6 inches, which was just perfect for what I needed to get the spring over and then get the 19mm nut back on top of the spring, and then to put this nut here on top as you assemble the whole thing. So it had me quite worried for a while there. I was thinking, now what's going on here? Are the springs the wrong length or something being left out of the shock? And I was trying to work out some sort of compression arrangement that I could use to press the spring down. There's no way that spring would compress, that's for sure. It's too tough. So it had me worried for a day or so, until I sort of did some measurements and I thought, wow, that rod with the thread on the end, it just looks too short. Then I thought, oh yeah, of course, it probably is actually down at the bottom, when it should actually be pulled right up for its full travel. So that's just something I'll share with you. If you ever have that happen to you, you probably won't. It's just the circumstances of my travelling this bike back home, the fact that I was on the trail, had it tied down, and that the shock had been disassembled in the first place. If the shock hadn't been disassembled, I wouldn't have had any problems. And now the shock's got plenty of spring in them and all that's looking good. I'm waiting for the seals to arrive, and then I'll take it all apart again and rebuild it, because I've got to take the front wheel off again to put my new tyre on anyway. So that's good. That's another job in itself. The thing about these projects, there's a lot of stages to them, a lot of steps. Sometimes you got to get the steps in the right order. You guys that have worked on bikes before know what I'm talking about, but that's all part of the pleasure of it anyway. So far I'm really, really happy with this project, so pleased with it. Everything is just as I'd like it to be. The bike's unmolested and it's going to come back really nice. I'm still going to take the engine out of the frame, but I may actually run it before then. As I said on another video, I've been down inside the bore, everything looks good inside there. I've got my new spark plugs. I've got my wiring diagram all sorted out, and I've got the starter motor apart at the moment, reconditioning the starter motor, and I've cleaned up all around here. I've got the clutch actuator right out at the moment. So a lot of this bike was just dirty, just how they get the grease and the dirt and everything just builds up on everything. So gave it a good degrease and gave it a good wash out, and it's come up a real treat, guys, to be honest. Initially I'm going to run it with points, and then I'm going to convert it over to a CDI ignition system. So there you go, everybody. Small update on the CB450 K5 1972. I've seen somebody actually lift this engine out. It looks very heavy for me. If I go to lift this engine out, I'll take all the bolts out first, and I'm either going to get a buddy to come around and help me take it out to the left here sideways onto a trolley. This is the right height, we'll just slide it across onto a trolley, or I'll tip it on its side and I'll get someone to help me lift the frame off it, so the frame will come up from it'll be lying on its left hand side, and I'll just lift the frame back off the engine and then stand the engine back up again, because I'm still keen after I've had it taken over to sort of go down inside it and you know, have a good look inside the engine. Just curious as well. They've got it such an amazing overhead cam arrangement with a torsion rod arrangement for the spring, for springs, to get away from using valve springs. It's only a 2-valve per cylinder engine, but it develops just over 40 horsepower, which is pretty amazing for 450. Anyway, don't want to be rambling too much. Just a little update on where I am with the CB450, and very happy so far with everything. A nice day here in Auckland. Oh yeah, and this is my DRZ250 that I'm selling. I'm just about to take some photographs and upload that onto an auction site. Hoping to get about $2,000 New Zealand for that bike. It runs beautifully. I think it's worth about that. Not too bad a price for somebody that's wanting a you know, something bike for the farm or for trail rides, or getting into riding on the trail for the first time. The DRZ250 quite a good bike actually. Solid as anything. A bit like the old XRs, you know, they're a solid bike, but the advantage of the DRZ is it's got electric start, which is an absolute blessing. Had a bit of a tidy up. This is one of my real favourites. I do love the X250R 1985. She's a great looking bike, twin carb model. Once I get a little bit further ahead on this project here, I'll wheel it away out of the shed so I can get the other bikes down and start having a little play with them. Anyway, so if you're wanting to take the side off the CB450, everything goes fairly smoothly. Just please remember there's a circlip that holds this on, not a nut. So you need circlip pliers, and of course you need the tool here, the Honda tool, to remove that nut there from deep inside the spinner. That looks pretty cruddy. I'm going to have to wash all that out, and you're good to go. All your clutch recon parts that you may want to use, and then a nice new gasket, and you'd box it up again, and should be fine. Okay, I'll catch you a little bit later on in another one once I've got a bit more progress on this project here. Thank you very much for viewing. I know there are quite a lot of videos of the CB450 on YouTube, which I've actually found myself to be very useful as well. Not so many just recently though. I noticed quite a few of them go back a number of years. So if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to show, that if you're starting to work on one of these for the first time, just send me a comment, and I'm quite happy to take some close-ups or anything like that. I do advise you getting a workshop manual, and there's some good PDF ones online as well. So plenty of information on these bikes really. Okay, catch you a little bit later on in another video.